So let me introduce sir to जो माने इंटरव्यू दोच और जो माने already अच्छा. So एटा गोटे हमें आज सेशन करूचे and it is a privilege for all of us that Malay sir is with us and जदि I will give a brief introduction about Malay sir. Malay sir already हमारा Indian Foreign Service 1979 batch जो already sir different country already ଆମର handle କରିଛନ୍ତି ଯେମିତି କି ସିଆଚେଲ ହେଲା କିମ୍ବା ହଙ୍ଗେରୀ ହେଲା ତ different country ର जो ଆମେ କହିବା foreign relationship ହଉ or India's relationship ହଉ already different country ଆମର India ର जो ଆମେ କହିବା जो foreign relationship को handle କରିଛନ୍ତି so it is a privilege for all of us तो तांको प्रेजेंस रे हमें केतोडा इंपोर्टेंट टॉपिक आज डिस्कशन करिबा जोटा कि रिलेटेड टू हमर इंटरनेशनल इश्यू को नै कि हमें डिस्कशन करिबा ओके सो हमें आज कहिथिले जे पर्टिकुलरली हमें कहिले जे हमें डिस्कशन करिबा रशिया यूक्रेन नो वार सो व्हाट इज द कॉज रशिया यूक्रेन वार कोन पे रशिया यूक्रेन वार हैला एंड एथिरे हमरो इंडिया रो जो स्टैंड्स कोन रोज रशिया यूक्रेन वार को नै कि एंड सेकंड टॉपिक हमें पारे आसी जे इस्राइल और पैलेस्टाइन को नै कि कोन हमरो कॉज ऑफ द कॉन्फ्लिक्ट और वार कोन पे होची तो ताको नै कि हमें डिस्कशन करे सो फर्स्ट क्वेश्चन जे why the conflict between Russia and Ukraine why there is a war between Russia and Ukraine तारो जेनेसिस और तारो कोठु तारो स्टार्ट हैला तापरे हमें फर्स्ट डिस्कशन करिबा एंड इट इज ओपन फॉर ऑल को पई एटा ओपन सो यू कैन मेक योर पॉइंट रेज योर हैंड्स हमें वन बाय वन समस्त को हमें अपॉर्चुनिटी दबा कहया पे आशीष को
Good evening, sir. Sir, one of the causes for the ongoing Russian-Ukraine war, as I can say, is that the expansion of NATO membership. The NATO is quickly expanding its membership, and Russia do not want its neighboring country to be involved in the NATO membership, as it will be threat for their sovereignty. Hence, it tried to create a buffer zone between Russia and the NATO countries. So when Ukraine expressed its concern to join the NATO membership, Russia warned Ukraine to not to do so. And when things get out of hand, Russia finally invaded Ukraine. And in the current scenario, he has successfully created a buffer zone between the bordering area of Ukraine and Russia by capturing the Donetsk and Luhansk region. So I can say that this is one of the reasons.
Okay. So anyone have any other point? Okay, किसी का योग चांस है? So expansion of NATO member cause okay, ahal yakwa.
Sir, for Russia, this Black Sea is very much strategically important, and it can connect to the Black Sea only through this Ukraine. So it do not want any Western influence in its neighboring. So that is one cause.
Okay. Any other? Okay, किसी points करेगा?
सर आउट रीजन मु ऐड करियो चाहूची एते कि माने रशिया यूक्रेन कॉन्फ्लिक्ट भितर गोटे आउटे मेजर रीजन होची कि in some part of Ukraine there has been observed that since 2014 there has been pro Russia movement, especially in the Donbas area. So that gave a significant reason for the Russia to take the action. It is because of the Russian population present in the Ukraine, and hence he took this action. Similar action was taken during 2014 also regarding the invasion of Crimea, And in order to get the maritime upper hand in that region, Russia invaded and captured Crimea area in 2014.
Okay. Okay. So how would I question particularly Patra Jai in Russia Ukraine war? In the UN Security Council also we are absent to vote against Russia. So many media also question about the presence of the absence of India. So if we are not voting against Russia, does it mean that we are with Russia? We are supporting Russia in this war? Or also when US is sanctioning against Russia to not to buy oil from Russia, in that case, India is buying oil from Russia. Sorry, sir, you want to say something?
I think I have missed the first part.
Sir, so first part, the questions are actually like where India stand in this Russia-Ukraine war. Whether uh, UN Security Council India is absent to vote against Russia. Does it mean that we are supporting Russia in this war? So, as per media report, many people think that if we are not voting against Russia, that means we are supporting Russia. And also, when the Western countries are like sanctioning that no one should buy the oil from Russia, because if you are buying oil, indirectly we are funding for the war. So indirectly, is India funding Russia in this war? So these are the two questions which actually media people also asking. So what is your stance? जो मैंने interview दब्बा इथरा. So what is your stand? Is India is supporting Russia in this war? First, second, if India is absent in the UN Security Council to vote against Russia, does it mean that we are supporting Russia in the war?
Are you asking me?
No, sir. I am asking the students. Let them answer this question. Then finally, your thought on all these discussions, sir.
Okay, okay. All right.
Yeah, Sam. Okay, Kuha.
Yes, sir. First question to answer ମୁଁ ଦେବା ପାଇଁ ଚାହିଁବି କି India oil procure କରୁଛି ଏଥିପାଇଁ କି ତାର ଗୋଟେ energy need ଅଛି. India is a vast country. It has huge population. So energy need ପାଇଁ energy security ପାଇଁ ये oil purchase କରୁଛି ନାହିଁ କି ତାକୁ ମାନେ fund କରିବା ପାଇଁ. ତ ସେଇଥିପାଇଁ ନିଜର national interest ପାଇଁ India oil procure କରୁଛି. That is my point. And secondly, जोटा कहले कि यूएन सिक्योरिटी काउंसिल रे इंडिया अब्सेंस सेटा जदि इंडिया प्रेजेंट रही कि रशिया अगेंस्ट रे वोट से करि तंदा ताहेले बिकॉज़ रशिया हैज बीन आवर फ्रेंड सिंस लॉन्ग हिस्टोरिकली इंडिया रो बेस्ट फ्रेंड ही के आसी रशिया इन डिफरेंट फोरम तो सेति पई absent रही कि न्यूट्रल रहिबाटा हम पई गोटे जियोपॉलिटिकल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू रु हम पई सेटा भलो थिबो माने आई मीन that will be a safety stand, I think.
Okay, Ashish.
Sir, so Jimiti, as we have seen that India has took a stance in the UNGA resolution as it has abstained itself from voting in favor of condemning Russia. The reason behind this was stated by S. Jaishankar was that India is taking its plan and following its steps on the basis of national interest, and whatever the step is for the national interest, they are following this. At the same time, in the recent visit of Prime Minister Modi to Russia, although the ties between India and Russia has been strengthened up, but still India has a neutral stance on its part. As we can see that the Indian ministers and especially S. Jaishankar, they have condemned the killing of the civilians, especially the children, and this was also stated by our Prime Minister during the recent Russia visit.
Okay, Anshuman or Satya.
Sir, from very beginning, India's stance is with non-aligned movement. We are one of the founding member of NAM. So we do not want to be polarized in any case. That's why the neutral stand, like supporting like a national interest served by purchasing oil from Russia in cheap rate. It should be our stand.
Okay. Manoranjan.
Good evening, sir.
Yes, sir.
Sir,
Kuha Manoranjan. Ha, kuha.
sir, India actually since sir, though we are the founding member of NAM, however, in 1971 during the Bangladesh Liberation War also, Russia has been a age-old partner ଆମର ଅଛି, and apart from this energy security requirement, ଆମର lately ଆମର oil import bill ଟା ଆମର ଏତେ ଅବଶ୍ୟ Russia side ରୁ ନାହିଁ, but ଦେଖିବାକୁ ଗଲେ ସେଠି ଆମର ଯୋଉ sunflower ହେଲା କି fertilizers ହେଲା, ତ sir ଏ angle ରୁ ମଧ୍ୟ ସେଇ ଏରିଆରେ ଯଦି ମାନେ political tension ରହୁଛି, geopolitical tension ରହୁଛି, that will also affect India. ତ ଇଣ୍ଡିଆର ନ୍ୟୁଟ୍ରାଲ ଷ୍ଟାଣ୍ଡ ଏଇଥିପାଇଁ ରହିବା କଥା ଯେ actually India's national interest fulfill ଯୋଉଟା ହଉଛି, ତ India should always be in a balanced mode so that to garner its fruitfulness in our own economic betterment.
Okay. Sumant. Sumant kuha. Ba Sucharit. Sumant kuha.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
Sumant kuha. Sumant.
Sir, there is a national interest game happening all around the country. US is playing its card just to destroy Russia financially and economically and in all strategic ways. So US is trying its best to expand NATO so that it is a concern for Russia. So there was a war. In this context, why should we also ignore our national interest? So in this context, we are promoting our national interest by buying Russian oils and other fertilizers and other strategic defense equipments from Russia. So it's in our national interest. But the main thing is we are in the perspective of our national interest. We are not hampering the international peace. But our Prime Minister also saying we want peace in the world because the peace in the world can get a prosperous and sustainable future for all. So so also promoting our national interest, we are promoting peace. This is our national interest and global interest also. So it promotes Vasudhaiva Kutumbakam as it's our national motto.
Okay. Ranjit.
Sir, good evening. Sir, as per my view, sir, if we'll see, sir, 140 crore population we are having, sir, and the energy requirement is very high. So to fulfill the energy requirement, purchase of the affordable oil in affordable price is very much essential for our national interest. And secondly, in the 1971 war, when whole world was against us, then only one country was, that is Russia, who supported us. And that's why, sir, we are saying that Russia is our time-tested friend, and that's why we are supporting. And as per the view of S. Jaishankar, that India, that is the oil is purchasing in 1 month, that the Europe is purchasing in 1 month, that Europe is purchasing in a single afternoon. So that's why we can say that other NATO countries also purchasing oil from Russia indirectly or directly. So that the question of that we are funding to the war, it's not the correct answer, because if you are funding, then NATO countries also funding, sir. So apart from this, we are having very much good relation with Russia. Like our 60% weapons from Russia we are purchasing, and many defense agreement we have done. Trade right now it's 60 billion, and our achievement and our planning is 100 billion by 2030. So
Okay.
by looking at all this, sir, we can say that we are not funding, and we should stand with Russia in the need of the hours.
Okay, very good. Bhagyasri. Sumant kuha tapre Bhagyasri. Sumant kahibar thila. Okay, Sumant kuha.
Sir, basically every nation is guided by its basically national interest, and national interest postulate the foreign policy. On the basis of the foreign policy of India, India tried to make a balance, at the same time try to fulfill its national interest by not depending upon the forex, basically on the dollar. When purchasing the oil from the Russia, it is strengthen the Indian current Indian financial system, that basically it purchase oil from rupee or ruble, not depending in the basically dollars. Second thing is, as it is a time, India tried to make a scenario that its own stand should be visualized in the international scenario. So it is a good time for India to make necessary arrangement for its own power.
Okay, Bhagyasri, extra point kiye kichi kahiba kuo? Bhagyasri.
Sir, China is also one factor because China, India सहित border issues रहुची जदि हमें रशिया को support रे न नेबा ताले हमर भी problem हेई पारे आगो को जेतबेले हमें चाइना हमको बार बार conflict करची युद्ध मध्ये होची जदि हमें ताठू किछि मन ता against रे किछि भी काम करियो सेटा हम national interest against रे भी हबो आ हमर energy security आ काहे भी हमें ताठू oil purchase करचे आ easily मतलब कम रेट रे आ निज करेंसी रे सेटा
Okay, Shweta.
सर नमस्कार सर जेमती कि हमें ऑयल पर्पस करूछु तो माने रशिया पाखरु ता पछरे दुईटा रीजन सर गोटे होची कि जोडा हमको से जेहेतु नेशनल इंटरेस्ट गोटे रीजन जोथरे कि हमको अफोर्डेबल प्राइस रे ऑयल मिलुची तो सेथि पई हमें परचेज कलु आ से गोटे माने हमको माने हमें रुपीज रे भी हमें ट्रांजैक्शन करि पारलु तो एटा भी गोटे हमको बेनिफिट गोटे मिलिला आ ता छोडा भी अदर कंट्रीज भी जेहेतु अफोर्डेबल प्राइस रे जेहेतु हमको ऑयल माने परचेज करिवार सुविधा मिलुथिला तो अदर यूरोपियन कंट्रीज भी ऑयल परचेज करूचंती आउ सर जोटा रहिला इंडिया माने अब्सटेन काई कला जेमति समस्त कहितले यार माने हिस्टोरिकल इंपोर्टेंस अछि जेमति कि हम 1971 वार टाइम रे जेमति कि हमको हेल्प करथिला रशिया हमरो बहुत सारा डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट्स भी हमरो 60% डिफेंस इक्विपमेंट्स भी हमें रशिया पाखरो ही किणुची आउ ताकू छडी कि सर हमरो गोटे जो रशिया संगरे जो हमरो माने रिलेशनशिप ता गोटे जोडा स्पेशल एंड प्रिविलेज्ड रिलेशनशिप एबेगा टाइम रे रहउची तो सर सेटा भी सर हमको गोटे माने मेंटेन करी कि चलीबा को पड़िबो तो हमको सर सेति पई गोटे न्यूट्रल पॉइंट ऑफ व्यू इंडिया रखी छी
Okay, Rajendra.
Hello, sir.
Cool.
I mean to say, Russia has been a great friend of India for a long time. You can talk about the 5 years plan. Then your India's purchasing oil from Russia at a cheaper rate. Then another point is that India is going to a member of the Arctic Sea route, which is going to be a major trade route in the near future, because the Suez route is almost a high trade route, and it is also a busy route. And another is that also India is a sovereign country and independent country, and India has all its power to join either NATO or take Russia as a friend. So, in my point of view, India is in a neutral position, which supports Russia as a great friend in the near future.
Okay, very good. Sucharita.
Good evening, sir.
Hmm.
Sir, regarding India's support to war, actually India is always against the war and human right violation. And regarding the oil buying and all, actually the European nations are also buying oil from the Russia due to its affordable cost. And as we know, Russia is one of the old friends, and it has always supported India's permanent membership in UN Security Council also. So, as told by our PM, that is one old friend is better than 100 new friends. That's why we are, as a sovereign country, we have our strategic autonomy and national interest.
Okay, very good. Sir, now the final thought from your side, sir. We have already discussed related to the the Russia-Ukraine cause and the India stand on it. So, sir, your thought on this whole issue?
Yeah. How much time do I have?
Sir, you can take your own time, sir.
Own time means no time. Okay. I heard almost all the participants' views, and two things come out very strongly. One is India's national interest, and the other is India's strategic autonomy. Um, since the end of the Cold War, before the Cold War, when Soviet Union existed, India had a different policy towards Soviet Union, very strong and very unified policy. Our leadership was all for friendship with Soviet Union, which dated back to the Nehruvian years and pursued through Indira Gandhi and other prime ministers of India. However, after the Cold War ended and Soviet Union was disintegrated into 13 independent countries in the year 2000, it was 1991. India had to change tack. At the same time, you saw in India rise of a different kind of policy under the stewardship of Prime Minister Narasimha Rao. We consciously adopted a pro-liberalization policy to fit India's worldview into a globalized world. This globalized world is getting more and more globalized in the sense that every country now needs its own space. Every country now needs its own identity. India is striking to be one of the major powers in the world. It has got the potential. It has a very big GDP growth, and IMF has recently certified India's growth rate will be not less than 7%. However, there is a big contrast in that. That is something different. I will talk later at some other forum. But the thing is, yes, it's true. Russia has helped us enormously. We have struck a strategic partnership with Russia right from the days of 1971, our war with Pakistan and the emergence of Bangladesh when Indo-Soviet Treaty was just before the war. The Russians made a treaty with us and supplied most of the arms and armaments when US under Nixon was siding with Pakistan, as you all know. So India consciously made a choice at that time to side with Russia. That was 1971, and then the Cold War, and then the post-Cold War, and now it is a very different world. It is a very different world in the sense that it is a multipolar world. There are different poles in this world. And India is striking to be one of the major poles in this multipolar world. So we believe in multipolarity, number one, like China. However, the more important poles in today's real politics, when you are analyzing international relations, mind you, you have to take the real politic factor. Real politic is a German word, which means actual politics of the day, actual contemporary politics, which you have to analytically understand, which you have to dissect constantly in your own perception, how the international politics is evolving over this period. There are various poles in this world now. As you all know, there are four major poles, as we put it. One is, of course, the USA, the biggest pole. Then we have Europe, represented in EU and NATO. And then you have China, which is the global pole, and to some extent, Russia. Now, in the latest configuration, what we call the geopolitical architecture, Russia and China are together. There's no two opinion about it. So, and on the other hand, we have struck a very important relationship with the US also, a very keen defense, strategic energy, space, down to the basics. And with US, we hold a trade surplus, whereas with Russia, we hold an enormous trade deficit. Our total trade with Russia is about 60 billion dollar in dollar terms, 65 billion dollars. We want to augment it in India's favor, but we cannot, because we are in a way taking Russian oil at cheap prices, and that leads to more and more imports of Russian oil for India. Under the circumstances, we have to play what you guys said, a neutral stance. A neutral stance which will neither favor Russia disfavoring US, nor favor US disfavoring Russia, knowing that US and Russia at this point of time are two different poles, two opposite poles in this geopolitical, situation. EU, NATO, and US on one side, Russia, China, North Korea, etc., on the other side. Where does India stand in this? All of you have said that India should stand with Russia because Russia has been a steadfast partner of India over the years, and we should support Russia. But support Russia against what? Support Russia against its aggression on Ukraine. And Ukraine was an independent country, was a sovereign country, and Russia, starting from 2014, more, in the immediate past, I would say 2014 was a high watermark in the beginning of this conflict. What happened in 2014 was Russia annexed Crimea. Crimea was a province of Ukraine, and on a pretext that it is a part of the Donbas region of Russia, Russia grabbed Crimea militarily. That came as totally unexpected for all the European powers. And luckily, I was at that time serving as ambassador in Hungary, in Eastern Europe. And I know all the dynamics at that time, what was going on. And NATO played a very, very silent role at that time. They did nothing to Russia, except that Russia was thrown out of, earlier it used to be G8, a group of 8, including Russia. Then it became G7. Russia was expelled from the so-called G8 grouping. And thereafter, there was an immediate adversarial relation with Russia by the US. US led NATO and US. That is the beginning of the conflict. And thereafter, as you all know, in February 22, there was actual launch of the war from the Russian side, and they annexed several territories contiguous to their borders. The basic idea of Russia invading Ukraine, I think that is a point you need to know. Why did Russia invade Ukraine? It was basically to protect its own sovereignty in a way, and to tell the NATO powers that you cannot dismiss Russia lightly. Putin has been lamenting the time when Soviet Union broke up. He has personally said that that was the greatest tragedy which he has seen befall in his own life, that how Soviet Union, the mighty Soviet Union, crumbled in 1991 during those years. And he cannot ever forget how Soviet Union dismantled and Russia came in its place as a very smaller, less significant power. And of course, the Cold War had disappeared by that time. So that was the main reason why Russia, in protecting its borders, because Ukraine is right on Russia's borders, and Ukraine had applied for NATO membership. And Russia could not take that because they didn't want, the Russians didn't want the NATO borders to come close to their borders. So it will be a permanent threat to Russia's existence. However, now times have changed. Even the Scandinavian countries, Finland and Sweden, have all been joining NATO. So the scenario has changed. But what about India? Why should India support Russia? Of course, national interest is, everybody believes that national interest is the overriding factor. But some other country attacking your borders, attacking your territorial sovereignty, attacking your national integrity. Suppose tomorrow, I'll leave this supposition with you. Suppose tomorrow China attacks India and China grabs a part of our territory. It has. It has some 3,000 square kilometers of territory, Indian territory, in Chinese hands now at this point of time. Suppose it extends its occupation. Will India take it kindly? Should the world take it kindly? I don't think so. You cannot attack a sovereign country, and every sovereign country has the right under the UN Charter to defend its sovereignty and territorial integrity. It's a part of the UN Charter, and we are all members of the UN. We believe in that. There is a contradiction, basic contradiction here, a contradiction perhaps which is warranted at this point of time. But look at that. Let me give you a anecdotal incident. Modi recently went to Russia, as you all know. In fact, I had written a piece which I think said to Deepak, would have circulated it to you. You can see that the dynamics of this so-called summit, India-Russia summit, which happened after 3 years. The summit is okay. You can have a summit between two big powers, and you have your own national interest vis-a-vis Russia. However, the timing of the summit was unfortunate, because at the very same moment, the US was celebrating the 75th anniversary of NATO in Washington, DC, where the focus was Ukraine. And the entire NATO bloc, almost the entire NATO bloc, except a few countries like Hungary and all that who have been mediating with Russia and China, they were all for supporting Ukraine against Russia. That was a key moment where they saw Modi hugging Putin. And the same day, when the moment Modi was hugging Putin, bear hugging as usual, Russia had destroyed a children's hospital in Kyiv, the largest children's hospital, where there were several cancer-ridden children dead in the missile attack at the same moment. Obviously, the US did not like it. Ukraine criticized it very bitterly, that at this very moment when Ukraine's, these children are being killed by Russian missiles, India's leader is hugging the biggest criminal, quote unquote, biggest criminal of the world. So now it is a tough question for us. Why are we continuously abstaining in the UN when there is a issue related to Russia-Ukraine? We are doing so for a national interest. We are gaining cheap oil. We are using our local currencies to trade with Russia. All that is fine. But when it comes to principles, territoriality, sovereignty, these are principles of international law enshrined in the UN Charter. That is a point which all of you should remember, number one. Number two, what happens to our relationship with the West, which is a very crucial relationship. Mind you, India is a part of the Quad group, quadrilateral group, where you have various Western powers. So the Quad group initially started a little bit like a security military group. Later on, within themselves, they decided that it will be more of a economic grouping, economic and social grouping, and more a kind of a informal alliance of these four countries in the Quad group. And then we have been more tied to the Western orbit than to the Russia-China orbit, in my view, because we are getting much more support from US than Russia. If you analyze, if you compare both these power blocks, on one side the US and the other side Russia, China, and India in between, trying to put two legs on two stools. That's a very precarious situation. Of course, we are playing in our own way, in our own national interest. But the thing is that there is also an antecedent on this, that Ukraine in the past, if anybody knows about it, when we had this war with Pakistan in 1971, Ukraine had indirectly supported Pakistan. Not many people know about it. And that had been a sore point with India. And India since then has been not very warm towards Ukraine, neither warm nor cold. It has taken Ukraine as just any other member of the European continent. But our relationship has not been very warm with Ukraine. So you would say that, yes, at this very moment when Russia is bombarding Ukraine, Russia is invading Ukraine, we should stand with our strategic partner, with our steadfast partner, a partner which has given us armaments. Of course, the component of armaments has significantly decreased. Our military trade with Russia has come down from nearly 60% of our global trade to nearly 37% now, as per CIPRI's estimate. Other powers have come in, like France has come in, US has come in. US has come in a big way. Even space, US has come in a big way. So the traditional areas which Russia had aided India are being taken over by other powers also, with whom India needs to be friendly, with whom India needs to be close. So India is actually, if you ask me, my own critical independent assessment, which you may or may not put it in your answer books. That is up to you. But my own independent assessment is that India should take a strong stand in this war with Ukraine. India should take a position. You want to be a global power, right? You want to be a global power. You want to be recognized as a global power. You want to become the third largest economy in the world after a few years. Now you are the fifth largest. But power does not come out of these figures. Power comes out of two important things. One is your military heft, and the other is your economic prowess. Do we stand on these two stools? China, take China as a brilliant example of this. Today, China is in a position to even threaten US with various, counters to US trade restrictions and all that. Okay. So we need to build our nation first. We need to build the economy properly, and this inequity in the systems need to be somehow taken care of to be a forceful power in the world. Because world recognizes power, and power, as Mao had very succinctly put when he was there, the great Mao, the founder of communist China, that power flows out of the barrel of the gun. Even today, that aphorism stands, that power does flow out of the barrel of the gun. And today, China's military might, China's economic strength is at least 5 times that of India, at least, if not more. So we have to be very careful in trading through this path. Of course, for us, the most expedient is to not take any position, is to abstain. Abstention is nothing but not taking any position, neither side's position. It's the best way. But abstaining constantly may antagonize your partners also, your partners in progress, who could help you build a better, stronger, more solid, power. So we have to choose at this point of time. It's really a very, very tricky situation. It's a very difficult situation. And I think our mandarins in the Foreign Office, they must be contemplating on which side does India stand. Because if you recall, recently after, India abstained from this resolution, UN resolution, and, directly in a way supported Russia, while during this bilateral summit, Modi-Putin summit. If you recall, their ambassador in Delhi, Eric Garcetti, he said 2 things. He said that there is nothing like strategic autonomy during the conflict, during a period of conflict. There's nothing like strategic autonomy. Second important thing he said, that India-US relations are not that deep that they have to be taken for granted. So these were very 2 pertinent observations. And then recently has made another statement that India is in a good position to play the mediational role, or a mediator's role, in the Russian-Ukraine conflict. So they are all looking at what position should India take. And that is the biggest dichotomy which India's foreign policy is going through in this particular context. So I will end my summarizing here. And if you have any more questions, maybe Deepak can get back to me on that. And most probably I'll be coming back to address you in a classroom kind of session. So I hope things are okay. Deepak, thanks a lot for giving me this opportunity. Thank you all.
Thank you so much, sir. Actually, ये बड़ा ଗୋଟେ session जोटा कि one of the best session we ever had. माने international relationship रे इतने detail explanation with proper माने हमें जो knowledge हमें इतने बही पढ़ी चु, but you are a book itself जे कि really हमारा तारो background रे कौन हितला ଗୋଟେ clear cut हमको आज से reason मिलला जे कोउथि पाई. So it is, we are all fortunate to have to listen you on this issue, and thank you so much, sir. ମୁଁ ଆପଣଙ୍କୁ କହିଥିଲି 30 minutes. I think we have crossed the time, so definitely we shall make another session for Israel and
Yes,
Palestinian issue. Maybe next time we'll do, sir. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you very much, students. It was a pleasure hearing from you, your views and all that. So, you know, the final thing is, if Trump comes to power, which is very likely, as the next president of the United States, what will happen? The scenario, I'll throw this question at you for your next discussion through Deepak, that the entire scenario may change.
Okay,
Entire scenario, because US, instead of opposing Russia, may support Russia, and Trump may force a kind of a negotiation with Ukraine from a position of strength. That is my my perception of what things are going to happen, supposing Trump comes as the next president of the United States. So I leave it at that, and then we'll discuss further. These are important questions, very interesting also. So international relations is a very important subject. So wish you all good luck and good night to you.
Thank you so much, sir.
Thank you, sir.
You also.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you,
Sir,
sir.
sir, if you have time, I have one question.
Thank you, sir.
Can you?
तो next तुम मुझे just message कर दिया है, so I'll send it to sir.
Okay, sir.
Okay. ठीक है sir.
Okay, thank you. So can I leave this group now?
Yes, sir. Yes, you can. Sir.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Thank you, sir.
Good night to you all.
Yes, sir.
Bye-bye.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Good night.